I'm just gonna start reading about X-Men Red though. I had all this X-Men.
This is Hulk analysis.
Back at it again.
No, you son of a bitch.
We're in a run now where you haven't done episodes in a long time, and this is eventually going to turn into an episode.
Actually, our last thing was the episode, the Guardians of the Galaxy episode, number 78. If you guys want to check that out.
Who the hell is Honey Badger? Oh shit! Honey Badger is the new. Oh fuck! X-23. That's what she named herself.
Yeah,
that's like an internet joke. All right, fair.
Honey Badger. Yeah, it's X-23.
We're just giving people little nuggets to what's coming in the future.
Because she actually took on the Wolverine mantle. Like she was.
Yeah, yeah. She's in the suit and everything. Yeah,
no, and she took the name when he died, quote unquote, died. But we're not talking about X-Men right now.
I just want to say the team is like bananas.
Yeah, it's not the original Red, but yeah, we'll get to it.
No, I like this one. It's missing my boy, but still. Anyway,
no Cyclops, eh?
Back at it again.
No, we're not doing that. This is Arc analysis.
You never left. This is Arc analysis.
This is Arc analysis. We didn't even practice that. That was a great time. We're on point, baby.
You have to re-listen to this because you'll hear that it was not good timing.
Well, maybe I have a delay. But it sounded great to me.
Do you? Because that's going to be hilarious. It's going to be hilarious in the playback.
Published by Marvel Comics, written by Al.
Hey, Coke.
Drawn by Joe Bennett. This is
Hey Dank.
Arc analysis number 57. Immortal Hulk, Volume 1. Or is he both? I love that title. Or is he both?
Is he both? Yeah.
I like that. That's dope.
This is also the first time we've done anything Hulk related in 3 years of.
Have we done anything longer? We have, right?
No.
This is the first time we've ever done Hulk, isn't it?
Not singularly. Like he's been referenced in because we did the Avengers movie, right?
There's a couple guys we just haven't we haven't done Hulk, we haven't done Iron Man, anything really. Nope. We've done a lot of Spider-Man, we've done a lot of Batman. We haven't done any Flash things. Like we've done we're missing. That's because we do other things too. We do a lot of
Fantastic Four. I mean, we purposely kind of stay away from the big money machines because
there's so much other good stuff out there, and everybody else covers the big money machines. So, but we dip our toes in, like today.
But ever so often,
like today, because this is where we started. This is where we start. This is where we started too, right? Like I'm a Marvel fan.
When they know how to write Mean Green, oh man,
I want to call this a reimagining, but it's not really because it's more of an ode to the original. Like when Hulk used to be horror comic. So it is a reimagining in a way, but it's using an old format, which is this book is a vibe and it's very horror oriented.
I would even say it's kind of a nod to the beloved by some 70s TV show where it's kind of just Bruce. Was he Bruce Banner? I think it was Bruce Bixby going from town to town and waiting to turn into Lou Ferrigno. And every week, and like this kind of book, every issue was a different adventure in a different town. Like they go back to that whole. He can't really stay in one spot, and then that's the best. That's the best Hulk.
Then the one detective, Jacqueline McGee, kind of following him through. I like that. I love that. Yeah. I know it's not like an original concept, but it's a really fun one because it builds tension and builds a nice pace to things. Like, oh, you've got this one detective on your tail who's just obsessed with this one case, and then you find out why in the end too. It's like I was like, that's kind of. I wasn't sure how I felt about that, but that the book itself is really engaging.
It's kind of a trope for Hulk, who would have been created in like 1960s.
Yeah,
like this was maybe the first series that was kind of doing the whole thing that has now reached its full cycle and doing it again of town to town, following this kind of lead. Like this guy always leaves destruction in his path. Nobody really knows what's going on. They bystanders kind of have a recollection of what's happening. Like it's a good way of storytelling, especially if you really understand your protagonist. And this is a comic that really understands two protagonists, right? I guess a protagonist and antagonist, right?
Like because it's anti-hero and an anti-villain about that. And I never read Civil War 2, so this actually continues right off of that. So when you first see Hulk and you can see him talking like we are talking right now, it's like, whoa, where did that come from? And they fill in the gap. They fill in the gap, but I was like, oh, what is this? This is not me Hulk smash. This is like just another personality, right?
Yeah, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
and I don't like the little puny guy that will eventually come back. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna try and stay in control as much as possible.
But this is a continuation off of Civil War II, and in that, Bruce tried to kill Hulk, so he got Hawkeye of all people to shoot
That's your
a.
boy. We don't knock your boy.
Do you think Bruce Banner? Do you think that was the smartest choice? Like, do you think that was the most effective choice? Is like, let's get this guy who vows not to kill anymore
The
because
real question is, was the request real? Because if I really wanted to die, I'd ask Iron Man because he'd figure out a
exactly,
scientific way to do
yeah.
it, or like Reed Richards
Well,
because they like the strongest mind.
right.
But if I just wanted someone with a kill shot, and like maybe I'll come back from this, it's either Hawkeye or Scarlet.
Well, he didn't want to come back for this. So basically, what happened was he got Hawkeye. He convinced
Kill shot.
Hawkeye. This was written by Bendis, by the way. He convinced Hawkeye to shoot him in the head with a gamma arrow.
Okay.
And so it did kill Bruce Banner temporarily, which led so the death of Bruce Banner let Hulk kind of completely mind share with him going. So the monster had there was no barrier anymore. There's a complete mind share, and that in turn made the monster much more intelligent because it's just like, all right, well now it's not like a 2-year-old and a grown man. It's now a grown man, and now he's sharing his mind with this other being so it just absorbed all his intelligence. So he's probably just as smart as Bruce. They're just completely different people now. So they share everything's there. There's no barrier anymore.
So yeah, that's amazing. Then
yeah, it's amazing.
Hawkeye cracked the glass and like everything just filled up both sides.
I feel like that's just Al Ewing kind of fixing up a weird plot point from Bendis. Well, then you don't know, right? Maybe they planned this out before. It's like, let's do this to Hulk so that I can, because obviously he knew he was going to be writing a solo thing after that event, right? It's interesting how these dynamics work and who talks to, like, just kill off Banner somehow and let me take the reins. Or it was just like, ooh, what do I do here?
Interesting question of, do they plan these things out, or like was this a happy accident? Like, we got to get rid of Hulk for this one event and then we'll fix it later.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we killed half of him, but now we can write this kind of dialogue in and this new story plot point of, well, Hulk's still alive because you can't really kill Hulk, right?
I'd be interested to learn that somehow, because you're right. It could just be he may have not even had the idea until they killed Bruce Banner off. I was like, oh, wait a second, and then goes to the Marvel. Listen, I got this great idea. Like, give it to me. This makes all sense, right? But I don't know, because maybe they could have just shelved him for like 3 years until somebody came. But
which is what happens. You put people on the shelf. They're like, all right, I got the idea. Now let's pull them off and let's do something wildly original with. And we haven't even talked about the comic yet. We're just talking about the background. This comic is wildly original and so introspective, and there's so many things going on.
Yeah.
So,
but I feel like the background's important because I was a little confused when I first started. I was like, why is the Hulk talking? They do catch you up in this run, which is good. But then I went back and kind of read up a little bit on how. I didn't read Civil War 2, but I read up on how it all went down, and that's basically. So as long as you know that going in, it's like, okay, that's why he's smart. Like, let's keep going, right?
And I think a more logical choice than any MCU fans of Hulk would be Professor Hulk, of them like minding the two together. Like, as much as we love Hulk and we love Bruce Banner, they're not really friends. Like, they've always been foes and adversaries. They're trying to take up the same amount of space. So Professor Hulk just seemed like a band-aid to be like, okay, cool. Like, we just really want to use what's his name?
Bruce.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of the actor, Mark Ruffalo.
Oh, right.
A less like Hulk smash.
Oh, you're talking about MCU specific. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like that's where we get the majority of people understanding Professor Hulk. And then there was a couple runs of that, and I was like, yeah, this is interesting, but it's not what we love about Hulk, which is this mild-mannered, meek individual who's so intellectually smart, just can't handle the physicality side. And then when this overbearing physical, like Lummox comes, can't handle the intellectual side, and they just hate each other because they're polar opposites in so many different ways, and they're both trying to live completely different lives but can't help but stepping on each other's toes. So, like, talking about this book, there's certain scenes in it, like I'll ask you later what your favorite issue is if you remember, but I remember from issue 2 where it was all about Bruce, and Bruce was talking about, like, this is how I have to live my life. Like, I go town from town, sometimes I get a place to sleep, sometimes I get a hot bed, I have to steal when I can. Like, if I can keep clothes on my back, that's great, but it doesn't last long because you know what's coming. But when he's in the diner, he's talking about, like, how much he has to use his senses because he doesn't really get these chances to, like, he's just having, like, I think it's like eggs and bacon, but he's talking about like I put the salt on the whites and I put the pepper on the yolks, and like how he's so much in the moment, knowing that tomorrow may not even be there for him, let alone what kind of damage and destruction may happen in the next few days. So like I love that. I love the fact that like you get into his psychology and his introspective, just like I constantly have a monster on my back and I don't know what to do about it. That I can only really control these couple hours that I'm here. Oh man.
Yeah, it's
And then you get the flip, right? So
yeah, it's really interesting. I actually I think I'm excuse me, I don't remember. I read it all at once, so I don't remember which issue is it which, but I
right.
do remember that part. Excuse me, and that segment being like like a high point for me. It's like this is there's that part. Actually, the later parts I really like too. How they
Yeah.
wrote in some other characters, but I did want to just add on to what you were saying before. Is that Hulk is best when he's intimidating. Professor
Yes.
Hulk just doesn't have the same appeal to me
No.
personally. Just to me, to this is like whenever he turned into Hulk, I was like, "What's this guy gonna do?" I don't know. I honestly don't know what he's gonna do. Is he gonna kill this person? Is he gonna break their legs? Is he just gonna like stare at them? Because there's some people he just lets off. He just lets go.
Yeah.
Right? He doesn't do anything. But he's always got something to say, and he's always intimidating. It's like what? Like
Yes.
I
And
love that feeling.
I love the sheer mass of him too.
Yeah.
Like some artists try and like scale him down so other heroes kind of fit the mold, but like Hulk's an ogre. Like he's a beast. You can't miss him. So like when you see him with like a puny human, like they shrink in like his shadow,
Mhm.
and like he's constantly like crouching or like trying to squeeze into frame because there's so much mass of him. Like his face never fits fully in any of the
No,
panels, which
no.
I find amazing. Like it's so good. Like it's a small little detail, but he commands so much weight that like he can't fit in the page, and that's why the splash pages are amazing. Like there's a couple really good fights, and he's constantly just battering dudes left and right. And there's like I guess new power sets too. Like they gave him a couple new things that I haven't seen in any previous Hulk comics. So I love that they escalated kind of his depth because we're used to a Hulk that again Hulk smash and just ram and then okay I'm calm now I can go back to normal. This one's like I have an agenda and I couldn't wait to be waking up um, because I have shit to do.
Yeah.
So
Well, you're right. They did introduce a few things. I got so many points I want to get to. Favorite
sure,
issue though you're talking about. One of it is probably the issue that I was thinking about. I think it's in the middle. I think maybe 3 or 4, where
right?
really cool sequence where Detective McGee is talking to different people, and
That was
they're all and the art changes.
yes.
So cool. And it's like she's talking to the bartender, she's talking to the couple, and she's talking to and they all have different the police out, and they're all like
Yeah,
some people
they
are
have
like
different
thinking,
recollections of
yeah.
the events.
And the
Yes,
art
and
fits it so nice. I was like, this is such a good way to use comics as a like just so cool.
I love the fact that everyone remembers Bruce differently, but everyone
Mhm.
remembers the Hulk the exact
Exactly.
same.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, oh, he's so memorable. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, to your credit, like it goes from like pastels talking to like the grandmother
Yeah.
to like
Fantastic.
dark, hard lines when talking to the priest, and you can see different levels of like. I think the grandma was talking about like he looked like a young James Dean, so they kind
Yes,
of
that's
draw
right.
him
Yeah,
that
and
way, and
he's
he's
all
got like
like,
green skin, but like he's all like, "Ooh, baby," right? Like it's amazing, like amazing storytelling trope because you get drawn into their world and you kind of see from the detective side of you constantly hear other people's I guess interpretations of what happened, right? They say there's the truth, there's two sides to every story, like your side, their side, or three sides, I guess, and then what actually happened. So to kind of see them put the pieces together while you, the reader, are seeing like what's actually kind of happening is
Mhm.
oh, it's a really good issue. Yeah,
Yeah,
good call.
really, really, really interesting. I was like, that. This is such a cool. It's just I love when people are able to use comic books in a way that you could almost only do in a comic book. I don't know. You probably
Right.
could do that with animation too, but it just fits so well with this, like the old school, like when the cop was saying it's like that old
Right.
school, like
Yep.
golden age comics with like the oh,
Yeah.
it's so cool,
And
man.
he looks like a shining hero, and
Yeah,
like he's all
yeah,
like drawing
yeah,
everything. And he does
yeah.
the
Really,
poses.
really, really, really cool.
And this isn't like sorry,
Mhm.
still staying with like art and like structure. Like this isn't a comic that like reinvents the wheel with paneling. You're getting pretty straightforward 3, 6, 9, and then splash pages. But there's something about an artist that understands the character that they know they don't have to use. They don't have to break the mold to a standard comic page, right? They know exactly how to use Hulk in each frame, and it's either fitting Bruce in an entire panel or not being able to put Hulk in that same panel. but I love that you get the simple paneling, and then there's always an amazing splash page that either shows Hulk breaking somebody, holding up somebody, or crashing through something, right? So it always seems like it's a nice buildup, and your eye, like there's a smooth read too, like your eye
So
very easily smalls, uh, flies through it. I'm going to go back and say issue 2 is still my favorite for that Bruce thing, but there's a moment when he goes to see that other doctor who injects himself with the gamma, and the whole comic kind of flips because they use intense greens for like word bubbles, and it reminded me of like Apple did a thing where they did research on the type of blue that they use for iMessenger is the most calming, but the type of green that you use for anyone that's like an Android user is like a harsher green. It hits a little different, and that's what the bubbling is. Like it hits a little different. Like you can't relax when he's dealing with this backstory about this doctor who's injected his son with all this gamma and stuff. Like they find a way to infuse greens in so many different ways. And as someone that loves green, like you're not calm with the green. Like they kind of always make you seem on edge. Like you know something's happening and like something's bubbling up to the surface. So there's a great book for like building tension and then getting to that big whatever the ending of that issue is going to be.
I'm trying not to spoil too much because I didn't know there's a certain character that they throw in here at the end of issue 3 that's really cool. I was like, I did not see that coming.
Yes.
And
the backstory that they married together to keep him part of that story.
Chef's kiss, man.
Do it. Make the sound too.
Yeah.
Give him
just chef's kiss.
Yeah, give him all the gold.
So that was really cool. And then he becomes part of the plot. He works with Jackie to track down the Hulk for like his own reasons, and then it gets crazy, and then there's the hospitals part where they and I was like, this is so cool. And I could spoil it right now, but I don't really, because I didn't know this was happening before I read it. I only knew that this is a different kind of Hulk book, and it's more. I didn't know anything. Like I kind of stayed away from spoilers and everything, so I read it and I was like, it was a treat to see that character come into it, because it's like not a very often used character, but it works so well for this.
And like the nods of like who that character is and who they're working for. It's like, yes. Backstory is great. But I love that we figured out Bruce has this Bruce has this power where he can sense gamma energy. And like that's how he found Jackie. Yeah. And I was like, what? So like all of that added this extra level of depth for that big payoff, which we get in the end of the issue that like kept me reading, right? Like we were only supposed to do the first arc, and I was like, it's Mean Joe Green. I got to keep reading, man. It's really good.
It's really good. I had to jump. As soon as I was done, I was like, I got to move to something else. Otherwise, I'm just gonna read every.
Keep going.
Because then there's the introduction of the whole green door thing. That's really cool too, because it connects every character that's ever been like a gamma radiated or gamma created
entity.
Thank you.
Thing. Yeah.
They're all connected by this thing called the green door, and like these things get out. It's kind of like, so there's Bruce, there's Hulk, but then there's something else that's like what, and it's just like this
early
force.
Guesses. Joe, fix it. I actually expect him to make an appearance, because the way that this comic kind of pans out, every issue he's either finding out more about himself or he's going to the next town to find whoever the foe is. And most of the foes thus far have been gamma inflicted. So you can only imagine the who's who of who he's going to interact with throughout this run.
There's going to be Abomination is going to be in here at some point. So the leader as well at some point. But,
at some point.
But it's like this.
MODOK.
He's everywhere, eh? He's everywhere. I was playing the Guardians. I was playing the. That was there was a free like the Marvel's Avenger game that came out.
Okay.
A couple years ago, it was free on PlayStation Plus. I was like, I'll download it. And the main villain's MODOK. It's like how he becomes MODOK. I didn't finish it because I got sick of it, but it was really They had potential there. They had potential there, but they effed it in their own ways. I won't get into that.
It's hard to stick the landing.
They had something really good as a foundation that just added a whole bunch of stuff that they shouldn't have. And it's just
two, the writing's so great in this that they even gave Jackie a backstory to connection to the Hulk.
And she's great.
Yes.
She's
great. Her connection and her like final words.
That surprised me. That's why I was kind of like, what?
But that's kind of cool, and that could lead to something down the line.
I guess so, yeah.
That I just appreciated that, like, okay, you're like, I like when writing kind of makes it a tight knit family, and it kind of looks like everything that's going to come back from Bruce's past has a connection to him when he was Bruce
Yeah.
on his way to Hulk.
Well, it does explain why she's after him so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's after him like a dog on a bone. It's like why? And then you like you said you kind of find out why. It's like oh, that's not my favorite part of the book, but that makes sense to what's going on. And you're right, the way it's going to go because this goes on for like 50 issues, I believe.
Yes.
This run is a long
So
and
far, yes.
successful run. So,
But that's typically how obsessions and kind of careers get birthed. Like
yeah,
people, when you're in your formative years, you're like, I saw magic, I want to be a magician. Like it just changed your life. So like, imagine the first time, and that clicked in her head is like, how can I be this person? And that's what makes her so great at her job. Like she managed to keep finding him in so many pivotal spots, right? Like he has that line of like, I've been in how many states and like still
yeah.
here you are kind of thing. So I like that. I like that. Like the Hulk is an obsessive book, right? Like we know more the obsessive people being Ross, who gets a nod in one of these issues. They talk about General Thunderbolt Ross, I think.
Mhm.
And that's an obsessive dude too, right? Like I'm interested if Betty's going to make an appearance. I'm interested if there's going to be a love.
I'm sure this book was. I remember when this first came out, how much love it was getting.
Right.
I didn't jump in because I'm like Marvel very seldomly lets runs go past like a few issues. So I was like, oh, I'll read it when it's done. But then it just kept going and kept going. And then 4 years later, it's still going. It's like, holy shoot! And then it ended with 50. But I think there's another iteration for it. I haven't looked into that, but we're finally getting to it. That's which is. Did you also read the Zero issue?
I started it.
Yeah, so did I. So that fills out. I didn't get through it either. I read like some of it. I was like, this is kind of long. I don't know
There's a
what's going
lot.
on.
There's a lot. That's
A
the
lot
one
there.
complaint. Like it's maybe the best Zero issue because it's like 4 issues in it. But
Yeah, but
typically I don't pay attention to Zero issues. Right?
I read the
They
first
normally flow.
two because it's kind of small stories, and I read
Right.
the first two. And I was like, and then in this arc, you can see it back. It kind of backfills with these zeros. Just like, oh, okay, this just gives you
Right.
more information about what's going on here and why this is such a big deal when he hears when he gets to the thing.
Right. And I
With,
don't like. I'm not trying to give up any information because again, we're trying not to spoil this. This is an easy recommendation. Bury the lead. But the Zero issue gives you context of his family and kind of his upbringing,
yeah,
and that has a payoff. Um, I like to say about the arc that we read, the mirror effect that they keep using and like the callbacks because each comic starts with a quote and even finding out who the author of that quote is also has like its own little in joke, which is amazing. So look those up if you have a chance. But there's always a moment where a lot of characters are in a reflection and they see who their actual reflection is. And I was like, this is how you write Hulk. Sorry, Coke's gonna hate that when he has to edit it. Although this may be my day, so I may have to edit it. But I just have to hammer home like the subtleties. So I talked about how issue 2 is like one of my favorite issues.
mhm,
He's in a diner eating. He looks at the fork, and in the fork's reflection, he sees the Hulk. So like, there's always a constant reminder of
yeah.
this monster, this other side of me is looming and looking and seeing everything I do. Like the person I look in the mirror is not who you see. I see a complete different person, and I love that. Like it's so well done in this run.
It's funny. We always call out that if we really like a book or if we really don't like a book, it's hard to get these past a certain like 10-minute, 12-minute stretch. But we're at 23, and I'm like, there's so much to talk about in this, and that just
Yeah.
shows you we do love it. So it's not, but it's also very easy to talk about because there's so much going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much we can give away, and there's so much we haven't said, and there's so much we haven't talked about. But yeah, we've covered a lot too. So this is a special book, and
Yeah, it's weird how contained each issue is,
mhm,
but keep you on the path of
yeah,
following Bruce. So like that's why I think it nods back to like the TV series.
it's very well framed and paced and written. It's
Yes,
very
yes.
very well done. Good job to the team there.
And draw.
And yeah, as I'm and drawn. Yeah, it's beautiful. It fits when Hulk shows up. It's scary, and like some of these
Yeah.
towns, they kind of feel different too. The first one he's in with those the guy that robs the
All
liquor,
right.
the convenience store, or whatever, and the little place he runs back to, it feels really grimy and gross. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is. But then when he goes to the hospital, it feels more like cleaner, right?
Yeah, yeah. To your credit, it's a world lived in because you
Hmm.
get all these tertiary characters. You find out, like even when they're at that diner where dude gets that, and they're talking about those are the regulars, and they always go back and forth or whatever.
Yeah.
And then this thing happens. You're like, oh yeah, like this is just this town. This is what happens in this town.
And people aren't complete idiots in this either. Like they do know like they do know who the Hulk is, and the Hulk's supposed to be dead, but he's making appearances, and then so the rumblings start happening, and then when Bruce Banner's constantly around an area that things keep going down, and people are connecting dots. Like, wait a second,
right?
This guy's always around wherever something goes down, like a couple nights later. Like, what is like?
Well, Bruce is supposed to be dead too.
Like, yeah, that's what I mean. So who is this guy?
Previously.
Right, but if the Hulk's alive, then he's alive, right?
Oh, okay, right.
But I don't know. It's interesting. Anyways,
it's good.
We rate these on a good or bad basis. Boom for good, bah for bad, and whoosh for what do we just read? This is a bah. I mean, this is a boom. This is easy. I can't even said that.
Wow. You stole my joke. You stole my joke. It's a good joke.
I stole it without even knowing it.
Yeah, cheap heat.
Yeah.
No, this is a boom. That's a really good boom.
That's what it was too. It's really, really good. It's a Hulk boom. So if you like this, check us out on any of our other episodes. The last one we did a full episode on everything Guardians of the Galaxy, covered the whole trilogy and some comic books and the origins, things like that. That's like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, I think, hour and a half. And before that, we have some other. If you like these ones, these arc analysis ones, we have a few more before this. Not Marvel, but
and a few more after.
And a few more.
We like reading comic books. We don't like spoiling comic books, especially if they're good. So take it from us. If you didn't really understand what's happening, that's a sign for you to go in and check it out because it's a really good read.
At comic_patrol on Twitter, comicpatrolpod@gmail.com.
You can Google Comic Patrol. I think we're the second hit. Go check out our website.
I actually have never done that. Let me just do that right now.
Why would you admit that to our audience? Why?
Because what I do is I Google Coke and Dank.
Does Coke and Dank come up?
Yeah, but it's not
it's something nefarious.
It's
yeah. Let's see that. As long as it's not
actually, you know what? It does.
That's not Rule 52. Dank foods.
One of my
Coca-Cola. That's not what I want.
There's a Facebook profile called Coke Dank.
Oh, our stakeout is up there though.
That's right.
Our stakeout
there we go. See, there we go. Yeah.
But it's number one hit is Southport. We Coke Dank.
Yeah.
So maybe we're going to Southport.
Yeah, it's fine. It's whatever.
You're gonna say nobody cares.
No, I was trying to find. I was in the wrong window. I have Zencaster put up in 2 windows, and this is the one I'm recording.
Do we have a Facebook group? There's a Coke Dank Facebook group.
No, but it's open for creation. Stat Boy.
Get on that. Or go steal back whoever opened up a Coke Dank.
Okay, that's enough. We're out.